You know, there's some weeks that are so busy with work and you're kind of just working around the clock and you're like, how am I going to get anything else in? And then you try to wake up early and sacrifice sleep for another page, another chapter, another book. That was kind of my week. Let's talk about the week ending October 20th, 2024. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a bleary-eyed composer and also booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Materials Season 3, and the newly released psychological horror film Dead Whisper. Now I say bleary-eyed because I'm pretty sleep deprived because I've been kind of staying up a little late to try to read a little bit amongst all the work that I'd been doing. And I had a couple of delivery deadlines. More on that kind of later. I always like to do this reading roundup, weekly reading roundup segment and end it with an on the music front kind of segment because it's always fun to talk a little bit about the projects that I work on. And since I work a lot in the adaptation space and of course also the non-adaptation space, it's kind of nice to see about marrying these two worlds. So without further ado, if you like this kind of video, want to see these weekly reading roundups, please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and then you'll be apprised of when these come out every week. And to that point, I would love to know what you all think about this because I've been kind of thinking about, you know, I've always released this traditionally on a Sunday morning. And I've kind of gotten a little bit delayed because of work and life. So I've been kind of posting these Monday afternoon. I would love to know from you all which one you'd prefer. Which, you know, I always say like I'm the steward of the channel, but it's our channel. And I always want to make this a dialogue of us kind of talking about what we would prefer for the channel. So let me know in the comments like if you'd prefer one or the other, and I'll totally accommodate that. So yeah, so without further ado, let's kind of jump into what I read this week. So I had a fantastic reading week, all things considered. And I got a chance to read and finish. Can't really tell what it is from this giant special edition, but I actually read Carrie by Stephen King. Now, this is the first published work by Stephen King. He had written some other stuff a little bit earlier. As a teenager, he had written Long Walk, but that didn't get published till a little bit later. So this was the first published work by Stephen King. I got this very handsome special edition that includes Carrie, Salem's Lot, and The Shining. So of course I had to read out of it. And you know, it's just so beautiful. I didn't want to like mess up the pages, so I'm just like reading like with the book cracked a little bit like this, and it was just kind of nice to be able to read out of this beautiful edition. And I gotta say, I absolutely love the book because I was a fan of the 1976, I think, adaptation, which is the original Brian De Palma film. And I just thought that that's a masterpiece. And I actually watched it again recently, and I was, you know, I hadn't watched it probably in maybe a decade plus. And so, you know, when you watch something and you're kind of at a different space in your life or phase in your life, and you kind of see things with a new lens, I guess you could say. And I feel the same way about reading books too. But in that you know, film watching experience, I kind of felt, oh, this is even deeper. There's so many more layers here to be explored. So I was excited to read the book and see how it compared. And I gotta say, I absolutely adored it. And I do feel it's interesting because I do feel there's certain things that the book did better than the film, but I actually felt there were certain things that the film did better than the books. And I would kind of want to explore that a little bit at length, but I'm going to leave it here for now and tell you a little bit more about that in an upcoming segment on the channel. But I absolutely adored this. If you haven't read it, I think it really measures up to Stephen King's brilliance. You know, of course, his prose becomes more polished, his character development becomes more kind of thorough in subsequent books that he wrote. But this particular one really shows his brilliance right off the bat. So I just got to say, I loved the way he approached it. So that was what I read. I also started on a whim. You know, I just decided, you know, sometimes I'm a mood reader, so I like to read things and kind of just see, read a few pages. Will I like it enough to kind of want to keep reading? And I had picked up Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. Now, I hadn't read any Christopher Buehlman, but I had heard about the Black Tongue Thief from, I think, Patrick Leo's channel. He had raved about that book. And so, you know, I wanted to check out some Christopher Buehlman, but I also wanted to do something that was more horror themed because, you know, that being spooky season, I wanted to read something that was more indicative of that. And do you like the fact that I have a receipt as a bookmark? Sometimes, you know, you got to use what you have handy. But, you know, I got to say, like, I am absolutely loving this because this is like a medieval horror kind of a thing. So it takes place during the Black Plague. And it's kind of this epic fantasy story amidst the horror, but there's also some very kind of otherworldly, larger than life kind of supernatural horror that's going on amidst the Black Death horror, you know? So really fascinating book. The words just fly off the pages. I'm very impressed with what Christopher Buehlman has done here, so much so that I will absolutely be reading more of his works, including The Black Tongue Thief, probably sometime next year. But I gotta say, this was a huge surprise for me, to the point where, you know, I just started it, I think, on Saturday afternoon, and I'm already like 2/3 of the way done. I'm planning on finishing this tonight if I can. So that's kind of what I got on deck. So these are the two books that I got a chance to kind of explore this week. So let's talk a little bit about my reading roundup or reading schedule for next week. Now, I'm going to finish this one probably today, maybe tomorrow, but really loving the journey, so won't be hard to kind of complete this. And then I'm going to be reading an indie book. An indie published book by one of the first authors that contacted me on Booktube, Brian Bowyer, who writes like a lot of horror novels. And he sent me his novel, Flesh Rehearsal. Really, really cool. I'm going to quickly read. I had done this in a few weekly updates before, but I'm going to read the back here just so you can kind of get an idea of what this book is. And like all the books I mentioned on this on these videos, I always put the links in the description so that you could check them out for yourself, see if they're right for you. But following years of abuse, Gretchen runs away from home after her sister dies by suicide. While on the road, she accepts a ride from Jacob and Amelia Sloan, who are driving back to Los Angeles from Chicago. Gretchen knows their dead father was a lead singer in a famous band. After hearing Gretchen sing, they convince her to be the vocalist in their rock band and to live with them in Los Angeles, where Gretchen meets and falls in love with the girl of her dreams. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, a predator lurks, the lobotomizer, a serial killer terrorizing Los Angeles, plots an attack that threatens to ruin Gretchen's happiness. Can she and her friends find and stop the killer before the unthinkable happens? Fans of Clive Barker, Stephen King, and Poppy Z. Bright will love this chilling novel. Now, sounds pretty good to me, honestly. And of course, I live in LA, so it'd be kind of fun to see a horror-themed book that is based around my city. So really looking forward to checking this out. And I kind of perused the first couple pages and I really liked it already, and so I'm excited to kind of read this. So that's kind of what I got on deck for this week. I'm not really sure if I'll get to more after that, and I'm playing around with a couple of ideas. I'm just not quite sure what I'm going to get to if I do finish these, because I'll probably have a couple of days before the month ends, and it's kind of too late to start a massive book, but too early to start on November stuff. So I'll kind of try to figure that out. But let's talk a little bit about what happened on this channel, because it was kind of a really cool week for the channel. I decided to do an adaptation news episode 2 because episode 1 was so successful and people really seemed to like that format. And, a lot of people kind of messaged me or wrote in the comments that they don't see too much about videos that are dedicated to the adaptations they know and love, of books they know and love, and kind of where those adaptations are looking. And because I guess I'm privy to some information because I work in the adaptation space and I'm always pitching for adaptations, so I kind of know where things are in the pipeline, so I can kind of keep you all updated, the most recent updates and stuff like that. So, and it's adaptations are kind of coming really fast. Like this morning, I woke up to some more adaptation news. It's like I was going to do this video every 3 weeks to a month or so, but it seems like I might have to do it bi-weekly because things are coming so fast. So we'll see. And let me know in the comments if you have a preference on how you'd want to receive that news as well. The second video I did was perfectly paced books. So the idea is, like, I always try to find stuff that I don't see as much on Booktube's, topics that have not been explored as much. And this one seemed really interesting to me because, sometimes you read small books that are page turners, and like a Blake Crouch book or something, like every page, no wasted pages, and you're just flying through it. And then sometimes you read chonkers like Shogun, which are 1,300 pages on hardcover, but somehow every page means something, every character means something, and there's no real lull in it. It's just a smooth, steady ride all the way through. And so I wanted to do a video dedicated to that. So I did kind of a top perfectly paced books in no particular order. So I'm linking that up above. So if you want to check that out, feel free to check that out as well. So that leads me to talk a little bit about what I'm going to be putting up next week, or this week, I guess, since you're seeing this on Monday afternoon. I wanted to do 2 different videos. One is kind of like I'd mentioned about Carrie. I absolutely loved it. And there were certain kind of similarities and differences to the movie and the book. and then also, some things that were better in one medium versus another. And I kind of wanted to explore that in depth. So I figured this could be not only a review of Carrie, because I'm trying to review every Stephen King book I read, as he's my favorite author, and I have a whole shelf dedicated to the man back there. But I figured this was kind of a cool topic to explore, is adaptation, and kind of where the adaptation succeeded and failed, and where the book succeeded and failed in comparison to the adaptation, because it's very rare when an adaptation adds something new to what the book has already explored. So really excited to talk kind of about that. And then the second video I wanted to do is a November TBR, and I'm going to do mine a little bit early, a few days before the month ends, because I always say, like, it's kind of fun to explore some of these books together. And, I'm going to be doing a 2025 read along, and it looks like there might be a soft read along or two in the mix as well in 2025. So it's going to be the year of the read along. But in the meantime, if there's a book that, I'm reading that you want to read alongside, we have a Discord channel, which is also linking below. You could check that out and join in on some discussions. We could talk about the books that we're reading. So that's kind of why I wanted to put that a little bit earlier. That way, if you want to read any of those, you have time to get them from the library, bookstore, whatever. So that's kind of the plans for this channel. For this week. And then I wanted to do a little special segment called Indie Corner. So Indie Corner is kind of like, how I talked about Flesh Rehearsal here by Brian Bowyer, who's become a friend of the channel. And, over the last month or so, a couple of great authors have contacted me as well. And they're indie authors. And I always want to spotlight indie authors. And I kind of have decided I want to make reading indie books a regular part of my reading schedule, because I think you never know what you could find out there. There's a lot of gems that need to be kind of discovered. And this platform is small, but whatever I can do to help highlight indie authors that deserve more recognition, I always want to do. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. And so I wanted to talk about two indie authors that have sent me books this month. And the first one is A.R. Witham. Now, A.R. Witham I connected with through Josh from Red Fury Books. So thanks, Josh, for connecting us. He recommended that A.R. Witham contacted me, and he wanted to tell me about a book called The Crimes of Rooker Flynn. Leaving the link down below if you want to check this out. But really interesting premise. I actually read the back of it. It seemed really cool. A.R. Witham is a really sweet guy, and was kind enough to send me a really nice note along with this book, and he signed it and everything. So really, really neat. Yeah. So you could check that out. I don't know if you could see this properly. See if that shows up on the camera. But really nice guy. And so I'm going to read kind of the back here so you can kind of get a sense of the book as well for yourself. But it says, the Locke Institute has only 3 rules. Obey your betters, gather at sunrise, be inside by sundown. But some men can't be told what to do. Rooker Flynn is a rebellious, hot-tempered pirate who never met a rule he didn't break. He wants his freedom, and he will stop at nothing to get it. But the headmistress is determined to crush Rooker's spirit. She will use bounty hunters, giant poisonous spiders, and an arsenal of dark secrets to keep her pupils in line. Good thing Rooker knows one student who is smarter than all the rest put together. A kid genius who knows strange mysteries that are not of this world. Working together, Rooker's bravado and the kid's brains might be enough to outwit their captor and stage a daring escape or die trying. Sounds fascinating to me. I love pirates. I haven't actually read too many pirate novels, so I'm kind of excited to read a little bit about that. There's a little bit of a heist thing going on, a little adventure. Poisonous spiders. I used to have arachnophobia, but I no longer do, so I think I can read this without being too squeamish. So I'm leaving the link in description. The Crimes of Rooker Flynn by A.R. Witham. Thanks so much for sending this to me, man. I can't wait to get to it. And I'm looking forward to kind of looking at this or, in November or December of this year. So I'll keep you posted all when I get to it. So this was the first one. The second one, I unfortunately don't have a hard copy, but I'm leaving the thumbnail here on the screen so you can check it out. And this one was by another wonderful person who is, an author who's releasing this book called A Journey Thrice Begun. Now, this is releasing on October 31st, right on Halloween. And it seems like a really cool fantasy epic. So I'm going to read this description I found on Amazon, and I'm leaving the pre-order link below here. It says, Everett Dwyer usually looked forward to sharing night. It's the only night of the year marriage proposals can be made in Delwood, and the proposals take place on a grand open-air stage for all of the town to watch. Today, however, Everett felt nauseous just thinking about it, for in a few short hours he must get up on that stage and propose to Isolde Fairweather. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Everett, a mysterious blind family staggers towards Delwood, seeking refuge, yet bringing with them a darkness spreading rapidly through the world of Jira. A magical adventure is about to begin. Sounds really fascinating, actually. I haven't seen a premise in fantasy quite like this, so excited to check it out. And I absolutely love that cover. I think it's just a fantastic cover. It's always nice to see, like, you know, indie published books. The covers are just getting better and better as time is going by. So I'm excited to check this out. Seems like it would be considered like action adventure fantasy. It looks like maybe some romance in there. And so kind of excited to see this subgenre blend, I guess you could call it. So thank you so much, Sean, for sending this to me. And I'm really looking forward to getting to it. And it's already on my Kindle. So it's loaded up, ready to go. And I'm leaving the link for you all down below. So let's talk about the last kind of segment I always like to do on the channel, called On the Music Front. And On the Music Front is just me talking about the projects that I worked on this week. And one of the reasons for my sleep deprivation is it was the week of the deadlines. So the Diwali track has been going gangbusters. I think I mentioned to you I did a kind of a musical piece with Indian instruments and also kind of orchestra, and it had a huge dance choreography that was choreographed to the music, which is really cool because oftentimes I do stuff to picture, so it's nice to do it the reverse, you know, and to write something and then they dance and film it to it. So that was really cool, and I was kind of just getting some last minute changes into the agency. And then there was a ton of work to do for this French TV series that I've been writing a bunch of cues on, and we did our final delivery to the mixing stage on Friday. So this weekend I just kind of basically slept because I was just so tired. I slept and read, so it was kind of nice to be, you know, just swashed in blankets and reading our favorite books and things like that. So that was kind of what happened to me this week. But let me know in the comments, kind of like, I always like to ask, like, what happened to you this week? And I'll never just say like, oh, cool, thanks for watching, or just like your post. I will always try to ask you questions as well and just engage in dialogue, because that's the fun about this channel, I think, is and the Booktube community at large is like, we all get to chat with each other. I've made so many friends from all over the world through this channel in just the 6 months that I've been on Booktube. So I'm just really grateful to you all, and I just want to say thank you, you know. And if you want to continue the conversation beyond the comment section, of course, we have that Discord channel, a small but growing community of very active members who are just looking to support each other's reading journeys. And we have a couple new people on there who are just starting their reading journeys. So it's always fun to actually see books through other people's eyes, right? Like, oh, you haven't read that yet? I can't wait for you to experience that. I wish I could re-experience that for the first time. So excited to kind of talk with them and talk with all of you. So with that, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Always helps the algorithm gods push this out to the relevant viewers. And hope you enjoy this. I look forward to having more videos for you this week. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. I will see you on the next video. Take care.